on this COVID pandemic, our models will serve us better because they will use this data to make those projections. So I'm expecting that as we move forward and generate more data, we will have more reliability on the strength of the predictions of our models. And which is why in the last address that His Excellency the President gave, he talked at length about the various scenarios that we would face if we lifted some of these restrictions at various levels. I think the DG will be able to talk to that a little more. Mwangi from TV 47, your query about the students from Sudan who headed to Mombasa and turned positive, I do not have that detail, but my team might have it. What I do know is that indeed, yes, there was returning Kenyans who returned from Sudan. I'm aware that they could not have come in unless they had already a COVID-19 free certificate, and I do know that most of those students were already carrying COVID-19 certificates from the institution. Actually, it was from the Uganda virus laboratories in Uganda at that time. Now, anybody can contract COVID-19 depending on who they interact with and at what time. You know, even those of us who are standing here, we may be negative today, but tomorrow if we go and, mix up with somebody who may be asymptomatic, and then we test ourselves a few days later, we might actually find that we have contracted it. So there could be a number of reasons. I don't know, but I think the DG may have some information on that case. If he does, he will respond to that. Then you also asked about the veracity of our data regarding deaths. Is it? Okay. Of the testing results. The testing results, as I said, if these individuals were coming from a country that is our neighboring country, such as Uganda in this case, these are students from Sudan, did you say, not Uganda? They were from Sudan. Okay. I knew about the students from Uganda. I don't know about students who came directly from Sudan. That information I do not have. Perhaps the DG might or might not have it. Chemtai of Citizen, the data, you want to get data on the statistics of deaths, especially deaths due to underlying conditions, cumulatively over time, what we have seen so far of the 152 or so deaths that we have. The data is available. I think the DG might be able to address that. Do you have that data at hand, DG? Or it's data we can provide?
Yeah, I can provide.
It's data we can provide you because we do have those statistics. And whether COVID tests on corpses, posthumous testing is mandatory. From a safety point of view, and especially under circumstances where people die at home, for example, and not in a facility, where the cause of death may not be very clear, it's absolutely essential that we do that kind of test. Why? Because you know COVID-19, the symptoms and the progression of the disease and the way people move very quickly to death is very difficult to distinguish from some other diseases. Okay? That's why it is necessary to rule out before we have people handling that corpse and spreading transmission in case it turns out to be positive. As a matter of precaution, it's necessary that we do a COVID test to ensure that it is COVID-free, and then it can go through the normal burial processes, because you know in our different religions, there are some religions where the body may be handled, may need to be washed or embalmed or other things there is no danger in spreading. But if it is COVID positive, then it goes up through the protocols that we have put down, safety protocols on how to be able to intern that kind of body. Nancy Okwaro, you informed us about this survey that was carried out and highlights the extent of stigma. I think it's a little bit shocking to see that we have almost a quarter of the population who still feel, this issue of stigma. They are concerned about interacting with people who have had the disease and recovered, or children of people who have had the disease and recovered. I think that is it's a sad state, and we must, in the strongest terms possible, discourage people from taking on that type of outlook or attitude, because COVID-19, once somebody has been released and recovered from COVID-19, it means that person has been tested and shown not to be able to carry the virus, not carrying the virus. So there is absolutely no risk or danger in that person transmitting that virus to somebody else once they have recovered. That does not mean that people may not get infected. In fact, the issue of reinfection is still very unclear as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Entirely in the globe, we are not sure whether a person who has recovered from COVID-19 is immune to reinfection from COVID-19 at a later stage. That is work that is in progress. There is research going on to look at the levels of antibody and immune response. There's a body mounts once somebody has contracted the disease and recovered, and how long that immunity lasts. That is information we are waiting for. But person who has been declared recovered from COVID-19 poses no further risk than any one of us here who is normal in that sense. And there is no need to stigmatize the disease or those who have suffered from the disease. We know the battles that we had to fight in order to destigmatize HIV/AIDS. The successes that we have made today in the fight against HIV/AIDS is to quite a significant extent due to the fact that the disease was stigmatized, people understood what the disease is, and people were able to care for those who are afflicted by the disease. Equally for COVID-19, I think we need to destigmatize this disease. Any stigma only hinders our efforts at trying to battle the pandemic. Then